Every year, the White House lawn fills with the cheerful sight of children rolling colorful eggs with wooden spoons. It seems like a simple, innocent game, a picture-perfect moment of springtime joy in the heart of the nation's capital. You've probably seen it on the news, and you might even have your own memories of rolling eggs down a grassy hill. It's a tradition that feels quintessentially American, wholesome and fun. But what if I told you that this tradition is far stranger and more ancient than you could ever imagine? This isn't just a game. It's a ritual with roots so deep they touch ancient paganism, a powerful symbol at the very heart of Christianity, and a uniquely American story of protest, presidential intervention, and pure chaos that stretches back for generations. The cheerful game you see today is the modern echo of a complex and fascinating history. We're about to peel back the centuries, looking past the White House gates, across the Atlantic to medieval Europe, and all the way back to the dawn of civilization, to uncover the strange, surprising, and profound history of egg rolling. The egg is a sacred symbol, so how did we get from a sacred object to a children's game? The journey begins with the egg itself. Long before Christianity, ancient cultures across the globe saw the egg as a powerful symbol of fertility, new life, and the renewal of spring. In places like ancient Egypt, Persia, and Rome, decorated eggs were used in spring festivals to celebrate the rebirth of the natural world after the long, cold death of winter. People have been decorating eggs for an astonishingly long time. Engraved ostrich eggs dating back 60,000 years have been found in Africa, serving as some of the earliest evidence of human symbolic thought. The egg was a universal sign of hope and regeneration. When Christianity began to spread, it didn't erase these ancient beliefs. Instead, it often absorbed and repurposed them. Pope Gregory the Great, in the late 6th century, famously advised his missionaries not to destroy pagan temples but to convert them into churches and to replace pagan festivals with Christian feast days. The egg was a perfect candidate for this kind of symbolic transformation. In the Christian tradition, the Easter egg became a potent symbol of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The hard shell of the egg was seen to represent the sealed tomb where Jesus was laid after the crucifixion. Cracking the shell open, therefore, became a powerful and tangible representation of Jesus breaking free from the tomb and rising from the dead on Easter morning. Suddenly, the egg wasn't just about the rebirth of spring, but about the promise of eternal life itself. This symbolism was further deepened by the practices surrounding Lent, the 40-day period of fasting that precedes Easter. During the Middle Ages, Christians were forbidden from eating eggs, along with other animal products. But of course, chickens didn't stop laying. This created a huge surplus of eggs by the time Easter arrived. So, when the fast ended on Easter Sunday, eggs were not just a symbolic food, but a cause for genuine celebration. They were boiled to be preserved, decorated, blessed by priests, and shared as treasured gifts. The tradition of coloring the eggs also took on deep religious meaning. The oldest custom, traced back to early Christians in Mesopotamia, was to dye the eggs red to symbolize the blood of Christ shed on the cross. A powerful legend tells of Mary Magdalene going to the Emperor Tiberius to proclaim Christ's resurrection, and as proof, an egg she held miraculously turned deep red in her hand. The egg itself also became a symbol of the Holy Trinity. The shell, the yolk, and the albumen, the egg white, were seen as three distinct parts making up a single egg, mirroring the Christian doctrine of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as three persons in one God. In this way, a simple egg became a complex theological lesson, a tangible object imbued with the core mysteries of the Christian faith. From sacred ritual to medieval game with eggs now firmly established as a central part of the Easter celebration, it wasn't long before people started playing games with them. The practice of rolling eggs down hills seems to have first emerged in medieval Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom, where it was known as pace egging, a term derived from pash, the Old English word for Easter. Why roll them? One symbolic interpretation is that rolling the egg down a hill reenacts the rolling away of the stone from the entrance of Jesus' tomb. But the games also served a more practical purpose, cracking the shell to eat the egg inside. After 40 days of Lenten fasting, people were eager to finally enjoy these forbidden treats, and turning it into a competition made it all the more fun. In places like Lancashire, England, these traditions became deeply ingrained in local folklore. Children would dye eggs using onion skins, which gave them a beautiful mottled, golden color. Then, they would gather on a grassy hillside on Easter Monday to see whose egg could roll the farthest without breaking. But this was more than just a simple race. Local superstition held that after the game, the broken eggshells had to be carefully crushed. If they weren't, it was believed that witches could steal the shells and use them as tiny boats to cause mischief. It's a wonderfully strange detail that shows just how deeply these traditions were woven into the fabric of everyday life. These European traditions, the rolling, the tapping, the decorating, would eventually cross the Atlantic. German immigrants, in particular, brought with them the story of the Osterhase, or Easter hare, a mythical creature that laid a nest of colored eggs for well-behaved children. Over time, this hare would evolve into the Easter bunny we know today. Meanwhile, it is believed that the 16th century Protestant reformer, Martin Luther, organized egg hunts for his congregation, where men would hide eggs for women and children to find, mimicking the joy of the women who discovered Jesus' empty tomb. The Americanization of a tradition, chaos at the Capitol. When these traditions arrived in the United States, they found a new and very public stage, the nation's capital. By the mid-19th century, Easter Monday had become a day for Washington, D.C. families to gather for picnics and games. And the most popular place for this celebration was not the White House, but the beautifully landscaped grounds of the U.S. Capitol. The Capitol grounds, with their steep, grassy slopes, were the perfect natural arena for egg rolling. Throughout the 1870s, the event grew exponentially. It was a massive, joyous, and utterly chaotic public gathering. Hordes of children and their families would descend on the West Terraces, turning the grounds of American democracy into a giant playground. They rolled eggs, they rolled themselves down the hills, they had picnics, and they left a considerable mess. This did not go unnoticed by members of Congress. The grounds had been meticulously designed by the famed landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted, the same man who designed New York's Central Park. He envisioned the grounds as a dignified frame for the Capitol, not a playground being torn up by thousands of feet and errant eggs. By 1876, the festivities had caused so much damage that Congress passed the Turf Protection Law, which explicitly forbade the Capitol grounds from being used as a playground, effectively banning the beloved Easter Monday egg roll. The law was scheduled to take effect in 1877, but that year, Easter Monday was a complete washout. The new law went untested. But the stage was set for a showdown in 1878. As Easter approached, a small notice in a local paper informed the public that the law would be strictly enforced. There would be no egg rolling at the Capitol. On Easter Monday, legend tells us that groups of disappointed children made their way down Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. One version of the story says the kids were bold, rushing the gates and demanding to use the president's lawn. The more common version says that President Rutherford B, out for a walk, was approached by the children who explained their predicament. The president, unfamiliar with the tradition, was reportedly moved by their plea. He ordered the gates to the south lawn to be opened, welcoming the children to roll their eggs. And so, on April 22, 1878, the first official White House Easter egg roll was held, a tradition born out of a congressional ban and a presidential act of kindness. A presidential party. Once the tradition moved to the White House, it began to evolve. In 1889, President Benjamin Harrison added music, inviting the president's own United States Marine Band to play for the crowds. Of course, the tradition has faced its share of interruptions. The event was cancelled from 1917 to 1920 due to World War I and again from 1943 to 1945 during World War II. It was suspended again from 1946 to 1952, first due to post-war food conservation efforts and then because of a major White House renovation. President Dwight D. Eisenhower finally revived the tradition in 1953, to the delight of the public. The First Ladies have always played a central role in shaping the event. In 1929, Lou Hoover, wife of Herbert Hoover, introduced maypole and folk dances. The event also had its share of amusing moments. In 1939, the Secret Service had to shut down what they called a racket, where enterprising children were charging adults a fee to sneak them into the event, which was meant for kids only. Perhaps the most iconic additions came from First Lady Pat Nixon. In 1969, she introduced the first official White House Easter Bunny, a staffer in a rabbit costume. Then, in 1974, she organized the first egg-rolling races, where children use long-handled spoons to push their eggs across the finish line, the version of the game most people picture today. In 1981, President Ronald and First Lady Nancy Reagan started a new tradition that continues to this day, the souvenir wooden egg. These colorful eggs, featuring the signatures of the President and First Lady, became highly sought-after keepsakes. Today, the White House Easter egg roll is the largest annual public event held at the White House, with tens of thousands of people selected by a lottery system to attend. The modern event features the classic egg roll races, but also live music, storytelling, and appearances by costumed characters, a massive festival that has come a long way from its chaotic origins on Capitol Hill. So when you see a picture of children gleefully rolling eggs on the White House lawn, remember that you're looking at more than just a simple game. You're seeing the modern face of a tradition that is thousands of years old. You're seeing the echo of ancient festivals celebrating the rebirth of the earth in spring. You're seeing a powerful Christian symbol of resurrection, of an empty tomb and life-conquering death, a tradition shaped by the rhythms of Lenten fasting and Easter feasting. You're seeing the memory of medieval European peasants rolling eggs down a hill, and maybe even crushing the shells afterwards to keep them from being used as boats by witches. And you're seeing a uniquely American story, a story of children who claimed a public space as their own, a story of a Congress that said no, and a story of a president who said yes. It's a tradition that has been shaped by first ladies, interrupted by world wars, and revived by presidents, constantly evolving yet remaining a symbol of hope and new beginnings, rolling right along with us through the centuries. If you enjoyed peeling back the layers on this tradition, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the hidden histories of our favorite customs. And let us know in the comments below, what's your favorite family tradition, and do you know its strange history? Thanks for watching.